one of the South Africa's podcast legends, because you were the person in like 2019, 2018, 2016, telling everyone to start a podcast. 70%, 80% of businesses in South Africa fail within the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Can you do something cheaper, faster, or better than the person that's doing it already? I think the biggest lie ever told in the world is build it and they will come.
Yeah.
They will not come.
What are the ways we can start networking, and where do we go?
Networking is very transactional. What can you do for me? What can I do for you? I give you my business card, you take mine. I don't think in my years of collecting business cards, I've ever called any of those people.
Hello, Resonate community, and welcome to today's Resonate podcast episode. I'm so excited. Mashudu, Mudau, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Old friend.
Of course. Hustling days.
Excited to have you today because you and I come a very long way, especially in our entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah.
I mean, we come from like Twitter days when Twitter was Twitter.
Yes.
That's like 5 years ago, if not more.
It is. It's definitely pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic.
Oh, I'm excited for our conversation. So before we kickstart our conversation, I like to kind of give our audience an idea of who they're listening to.
Okay.
So we're going to get up to a fire round of questions, but there's a disclaimer. You only get one pass.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Cool. What do you look forward to every single morning?
Every single morning.
Every single morning.
Oh man, serving my purpose in whatever way I can.
Ooh, you're already starting with the jams.
But it's true though. Like I genuinely think like we can't be vain about purpose, and it's not a sometimes thing, it's an everyday thing. And
big conversation.
You might not be at your best that day, but you have to contribute something just to make sure that it's plowing back. Yeah.
Sure. Like starting at a very powerful note.
But it's an important note.
Very important. I 100%.
You knew what you were doing when you got me here.
Oh yeah,
so.
definitely. What's your favorite pastime?
Ooh, sleep. Oh man.
Really?
You know, the older you get, you just want to be sleeping, man. You just want to be like, man. When you sleep, you rewire yourself in so many different ways.
It's like you're taking naps.
Oh man, no, I don't like naps. Naps
Really?
like knock out my day.
I'm the king of
If I take a nap,
Yeah.
my day is just ruined, and I'm not gonna sleep well at night.
Is it
so
because you
it's
take like 4 to 5 hour naps?
Yeah. What are you talking about naps?
Like 30 minutes.
No.
Like just a young snooze
It takes
and
me
then
30
you're up
minutes
again.
to fall asleep.
Oh my gosh. Okay, then you're not napping. Then that's not napping for you. Okay, what's your least favorite thing in the world?
Ooh, least favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
Are we talking like just simple, small things or like really big things?
You can go big.
Youth unemployment in South Africa. That is the war that I'm fighting every day. I'm just like, yo, guys, are we conscious of this problem? Because it's going to destroy this country.
Yeah.
So I genuinely do think that is my least favorite thing in the world. It's just the state of this country in terms of how it supports young people to be able to build the lives that they want and believe in.
Yeah. Why do you think it's like such a big problem? Why do you think the real reason for that?
You know, I actually was part of this, like it's a workshop thing with a bunch of organizations. And there was a stat that they actually gave out in terms of information in the research that they did that 1 in 8 young South Africans have never had a job. Like just never. It's never happened. And then another one was between 2013 and this year, 2024, there was only 400,000 jobs created for young people in South Africa, right? So I think about those two stats. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a country that is not working.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very big problem. I don't necessarily have the solution.
Yeah.
But I definitely think our job is to enable as many people as we possibly can with the tools, resources, community, and whatever else to try and build a life for themselves. I think like the solution I don't think it's a solution, but it's definitely like something that we can look into.
Yeah.
Is self-employment. The work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, the work of many organizations and a lot of people who are saying, you know, if the jobs are not coming, and this is a question I ask myself a lot, if the jobs are not coming, what happens? Because we can't allow this country to fall apart completely. And like, if people are just sitting at home, they're going to turn to the wrong things in order to provide for their families.
Of course.
So The alternative is we arm as many people as possible to become builders themselves. And builders for me is you are taking whatever skill that you have, whatever talent that you have, whatever God-given ability, and you're going into the world and you're finding ways that you can create value for other people. And people go, okay, I see the value you wanted to create. And you find enough of those people that they say, you know what, we all value what you're doing and we're willing to reward you for the value that you're creating in the world, this problem that you're solving for me, and you're going to help me do that. And, you know, sometimes that's not a big startup. It's not a big small business. It might just be you creating enough value to be able to feed your family. And I think that's going to turn like it's going to make a difference. Just that. Yeah.
Sure. Well, Mashudu, Mudau, ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneur, founder, that really kind of gave us a big idea of the person that you are and what you care about the most. You and I have been entrepreneurs for a couple of years now. And I'd say to myself that when I introduce you, I would even say one of the South Africa's podcast legends, because you were the person in like 2019, 2018, 2016, telling everyone to start a podcast. Just like this guy, it's just everybody. And you even like you founded Founder's Source, where you had this website where you were guiding entrepreneurs and people to start podcasts. And then we didn't understand it. We're just like, listen, Twitter is doing really well for us right now. We don't need to like go buy mics. And look at us now.
Yeah, I think like these things come to people at different times.
Yeah.
And now everyone's jumping on.
Yeah.
It's become something different.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I enjoy what it's become. But I think it's just like the evolution of the medium. And I think like as soon as everyone understands that there are things that are for you and things that are not. So as much as there's a lot of fluff, a lot of gossip, a lot of bullshit podcasts, and I'm going to say bullshit podcasts, unfortunately. As much as there is that, there's also people that are pushing against that.
That's true.
Like people that are really trying to meaningfully change. And this is why I fell in love with podcasting. It was like, here's a medium where it is not corrupted by the metrics of social media. It is not corrupted by the metrics of TV or radio. No one cares about how many listens you get. What it was really about was building a community of people that deeply cared about something that everyone was aligned on. And we understood that we were coming together in a circle, in a virtual circle, to listen to this content, to uplift ourselves, to educate ourselves, to enable ourselves, to empower ourselves, to move into a different place. And I think like the other stuff should exist, because I always thought that the thing that was going to happen was, and it did happen, what you needed was not just competition between podcasters, to say, oh man, I'm bigger. Is your podcast getting this many listens? It was about adoption. It was about how can we get as many people as possible to care about a medium, a completely new medium, a completely different space, a space that had its own sort of values. Those values have been lost in different ways. But I think like now you've got the adoption, it makes a lot more sense to start the podcast now. But I was there like then because I just believed that this was going to be different and meaningful.
Yeah, and it came to you at a very early time.
It did. It really did.
I think way earlier than most people.
Yeah, but you know, you don't get brownie points for being early.
No?
No.
Why? Why? I think you do to an extent.
You just like the cowboy that went over the hill first and got shot by the Indians.
Okay, I think the part where you get shot is like that's why you don't get brownie points.
Yeah, because like you have to eat the frog and you need to take the pain, right?
Yeah.
Like I was doing podcasts for 5 people to listen. I was doing podcasts on my phone. I did it on and then I had a microphone and I built my first studio, second, third, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you have to make a lot of mistakes and you have to pay for those mistakes. And it costs a lot to be, you know, first in a space or like early in a space and adopting, you know, different things from America and bringing them here and trying to figure out how to make them really good.
Yeah.
So I do think like you have to pay a price when you're the first one through the door.
100%.
And what startups have started to learn is like you actually don't want to be first. You want to be like third or fourth, right? Like you want to be like Apple. Apple did a phone after how many phones had existed. But because you had a unique perspective on the world that could change how people saw this thing, it makes it so much better.
Powerful.
So I think like people like you and a lot more other people are going to start a lot really meaningful podcasts now. And now the audience is there because people know what podcasts are. And they might have that like difficult experience with these like very much just noise, fluff. Let's get your attention.
Of course.
We are not going to help you move forward in life, but we will get your attention.
And we will take your time.
Exactly, we'll take your time.
Yeah.
And now all those people know what a podcast is, and they're willing to give this medium a chance of its own.
Yeah.
So now you have the audience ready to receive the right message. And you can now be one of the people that are fighting against the grain of the noise and saying, here's some value. Here's where I'm going to solve problems for you. Here's how I'm going to help you build.
Yeah.
And you can come to this place as a community and we can believe in what we believe in and drive meaningful action to change our lives in some way.
I see. Very interesting. I was reading something online a couple of days ago, actually a couple of weeks ago, and I stumbled on a stat that didn't really shock me, but it sunk in at that time and really took a different meaning to the work that I do. And it was a study from the University of Western Cape. And they were saying about 70% to 80% of businesses in South Africa fail within the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Sure. So there's a lot of different factors. One of them being just like, I always try and separate the startup life versus the small business life. I think those are very different people.
Totally.
Thinking very differently about what they're building as well. I think startups exist to try and solve meaningful problems at scale using technology, right? They leverage technology very heavily to solve a meaningful problem and maybe sometimes disrupt a space that it has already existed for the longest of times. And they try and scale that to as many people as possible and break down the barriers that sort of have made this thing more expensive or anything like that.
Right.
So startups focus on innovation as well. So people, when they talk about innovation, they add all these other things. For me, it's simple, right?
Yeah.
Can you do something smarter? No. Can you do something cheaper, faster, or better than the person that's doing it already? You have innovated that thing. If you can do it faster, cheaper, or better, that's it. You break down as many barriers as possible and you solve the problem for the person in a much better way than anyone else that exists in the current space.
Yeah.
Whereas small businesses, I think, exist and are built from a different place. That first place is, I am hungry, I am at home, I don't have a plan. I'm going to take my skill and I'm going to try and offer value and solve a problem for people around me.
Yeah.
That problem doesn't necessarily need to be solved at scale. You don't need to be disrupting a space. You don't necessarily need to be innovating as well. But you do still need to be solving problems. And I think that's the number one part of it is I don't think we have the understanding and the knowledge and the skills and sometimes the resources to understand the right problems we should be solving in our immediate communities or larger communities as well. And as soon as you are not solving a meaningful problem, it's going to be difficult for you to offer value.
That's true.
Value, again, this is it doesn't matter whether it's a startup or creator or a small business. Value is I engage with you and whatever you're offering, and I am not the same when I come out of that process. I don't think there's a lot of businesses that have that just as a standard for themselves to say, you know what, are we meaningfully changing someone's life by offering the value that we're offering and solving a problem for them?
Shucks.
Because as soon as you're not doing that, you are not necessarily offering new value, which means that the business that is thinking, you know what, how can you offer more value? They're going to beat you. They're going to beat you to death because the person that comes to you might have came with no information, no education. So they tested things out with you, realized they needed this, but they're not going to stick with you because why? You're not offering disproportionate value, right? So solving problems, offering disproportionate value. I think the other thing is then we just go into practical stuff, resources, capital, skills and expertise. I think a lot of that comes too late or not at the right time for a lot of people, right? So I start a business, there's this South African saying, I need funding. I don't want to start my business. I need funding.
Oh,
and you're okay, let's start here. What funding do you need?
And what for?
Yeah, what are you going to do with this funding? Because I don't know what world most people live in, but the world I live in, no one is going to give you money because you have an idea.
Yes.
This is not
no
America.
No one funds ideas.
No, this is not Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
You can't just come here with your dreams and say, hey, guys, look.
But it's also when we watch Shark Tank, they're not funding ideas. They're funding businesses that currently are existing, that have tried and tested the market and that have the potential of scaling.
Exactly. And like, I think that there's this misconception around most people where it's like, I can't start a business because I don't have money.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if that's the case, then it means what you have to offer has no value, because that means you've gone out into the world and no one was willing to pay you for the thing that you made. So let's start there. I think that we need to change the conversation around, starting a business to say, okay, if you made the simplest, most clean version of the thing that you want to create, what would that look like? And can you go into the world and speak to enough customers to say, hey guys, I'm offering this thing, would you pay for it? And some people might say yes, some people might say no. You keep improving your product as much as possible, and you get some money from that. If you go to an investor, and there's two people in this scenario, the guy that says, I have an idea, and the guy that says, hey, I didn't have any money, I didn't have any resources, but we made this version and we sold it to 10 people. If two of these people come before an investor, the investor goes, I genuinely want to speak to the guy who had nothing.
Of course.
And completely just went, okay, I'm just going to figure it out. That is the person that gets funded. And like, it even reflects in the support ecosystem as well. South Africa, and I don't want people to like lie to themselves about this, we have an incredible support system for entrepreneurs. It's really good. It's robust. There's incredible entrepreneur development centers and mentors and venture capitalists. There's a lot of like
information.
I think that's where the mistake happens, though, right? So as much as there is a lot of the, support ecosystem, maybe the information is still not reaching the people when it needs it, right? So if I start a business and I'm at the point where I need, an incubator to help me understand how best to run this business to make it the most successful it can be. If I find them 3 months in, starving and not in the place to even still do the work, then it's too late for me.
That's true.
And I think that there's that misalignment where people are not meeting the support that they need at the time that they need it. But also because of the information gaps, people aren't finding the people that can help enable them as best as possible to build the greatest businesses that they can. Because remember, all these accelerators, incubators, funders, venture capitalists, they also have, it is their job to make sure that they get people that can be very successful. So if they meet you at the right time and in the right space, they can help you be able to do that. So I think the information, the resources, the support ecosystem, all these things are still like very much misaligned, and like there is definitely still a conversation to be had about how how aligned the ecosystem is in itself to work for entrepreneurs, and that's a whole different conversation. But I do think that these factors start to play a role in how successful entrepreneurs can be early in their journey.
And I think it also has a lot to do with, as an entrepreneur, being able to go out there for yourself and looking for these resources.
Exactly.
That becomes very important, because I can relate and think about my journey as well. And it's what a lot of people do. We start businesses because you're just like, okay, I'm not doing anything and I need to like do something to make more money, or I'm working and I need to start a side hustle. And when it grows, you're like, okay, there's probably more to this, but I don't know how to do it. And then you're going out there. I mean, I remember during my time, I would then connect with people like yourselves, Nicolette Mashila's online, where we would eventually find the big blue bank incubation hub that now closed. I don't want to mention their name. And all of those things. So it's important for these entrepreneurs to really go out and look for it. But one of the things I normally say a lot in quite a lot of work that I do is that there is no business if you're not selling. Right? Because I'm of the belief that if you can get the sales part right, we can fix everything. Because then the revenue is coming in. So we can either fix a problem by hiring somebody to fix that problem for us, or getting more resources from a financial perspective to fix a problem for us. But we open ourselves up to more opportunities and more people and mentorship and all of that stuff, so we can do that. And I want us to, in your experience, having worked with quite a lot of founders and a lot of entrepreneurs, why do you think people struggle selling?
I think like sort of a bit going back to what I said earlier, right? Like, let's start with the fact that, are you selling something people care about? Like, do they care? Like, if you're not solving a problem for me, you're not creating disproportionate value for me, no amount of selling is going to help.
But so here's what I've picked up a lot with some of the people that I've worked with, is that people will come to me and say, I have a brilliant, like my business is great. Like what I offer is like, Michelle, you don't understand.
But you know,
but people
you know that thing,
aren't buying.
It's founders' delusion, right? Like,
because we all think we're great.
We are all Steve Jobs. We are all Steve Jobs. We are Jeff Bezos. We are the full complete package of entrepreneurship.
But like
in our heads.
But like what a contradictory state of mind where you think you're Steve Jobs, but you self-doubt and you're a perfectionist, but you also have anxiety and you have imposter syndrome. And like amongst all of that, it's like, are we okay?
I think like as soon as you get over the hurdle of like, are you selling something valuable? Let's start there. If we got like to that point and we said, okay, you are definitely selling something people care about.
Yeah.
You are offering disproportionate value and solving a significant problem for people. I think the second part is like, are you even speaking to the right people? Because I think like there is a disconnect, right? So you think your product is perfect.
Yes.
Okay, let's assume that is the truth. Are you speaking to the people that actually need it?
Yeah.
That's the second part.
Yeah.
I think the third part is like, I think maybe a lot of people are scared of actually going out to the world and saying to people, hey, look, I have value to offer and this is what it is. Can you buy it? Because at the end of the day, most people are going to say no.
Yeah. Afraid of rejection.
You have to look at like all the stats in terms of like conversion rates and, you know, whether you're doing ads on social media or you're doing a billboard or you're doing all these different things.
Yeah.
At the end of it, right, if you really distill all these things, there's a lot of rejection that's going to happen because you are not reaching the people that need the message.
Of course.
And as much as you can do all these different things, you still are always in a constant mode to try and find the right person to solve.
Yeah.
So there's this one tool that I think is a good example of this.
Okay.
It's called the Facebook ad. I think it's the Facebook ad marketplace or something like that. So basically, I think during the trials when, you know, the Congress in America was asking Facebook who makes ads and, you know, political ads and all these things, they had to build a platform to make it transparent.
Okay.
So everyone could see every ad that was on Facebook at any time. So you can go and find this thing. I just need to remember the name.
Okay.
And you go on there and let's say, for example, it's Shopify. If you go on there and you type Shopify and you try and see how many ads they have, they'll have about 400, 500 ads running at the same time. Why is this? They're going to test different images, different copy, different products, different features, different video versus pictures versus podcast. They're going to test every different way in which they can reach entrepreneurs so that they can engage the right person. And the thing is, a lot of this is gambling. It can feel a lot like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And where the science comes in and where you're getting like a lot more like, okay, we are not just taking chances anymore. We understand who you're serving.
Yeah.
Then you start to like really distill these things, right? So I think if a company as big as Shopify is spending millions weekly to do 500 ads, you should definitely do more than one. You know, and I think like being okay with the rejection when your product is not meeting the right person at the right time or it's not speaking to the person that you're speaking to, then you need to be honest with yourself and use as much data. And I'm a big fan of using as much numbers as you possibly can to make these decisions. And I just think like that fear of rejection at early on, getting clear about the product that you have, who you're actually serving, and then trying to communicate and find them as best way as possible. Yeah.
That's very interesting because A/B testing is very powerful. And I think a lot of big companies do it. And maybe the reason why these stats say 80% of businesses fail within that 5-year period is because we haven't given ourselves the opportunity to actually A/B test our product. So we really don't know who are we selling it to. Because the other thing I've also figured out when people are saying my product is great, usually the product is great. But it's what you said, they don't really know who they're talking to. So they're probably offering it to the wrong people. And then the fear of rejection now makes them think it's this illusion that because my product is great, come find it, guys. Like, just have a look. I'm here. It's great.
I think the biggest lie ever told in the world is build it and they will come. They will not come. They are not coming.
They don't even know you exist.
They don't know you exist. There is so much noise in the world. You know, like people are on their phones while they're watching Netflix and there's music playing in the background. Where are you in all of this?
Yeah.
If I drive out, if you drive for 15 minutes, how many ads do you see?
So many.
How much time are you on your phone where you're just skipping those ads as quickly as you possibly
Immediately.
can? And it's like, if you are that overwhelmed by people trying to tell you something, imagine your customer.
Yeah.
And then your customer, but like with 10 competitors that are more resourced than you, much, all these different things.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can get over the fact that, you know what, we will be rejected at some level, and we will definitely not reach every single one of our customers every time we put something out. How can we communicate them differently, right? And you're seeing like companies start to do a lot more things that are not necessarily traditional, right?
Yeah.
So they'll start a podcast to educate people about the thing that they are trying to solve. So Shopify has an amazing sort of, and I'm not a Shopify ambassador, please. It's just a good example, right? Like, so like, they'll do a podcast educating people about, how to start a business and how to market your business and all of that. But at the end of the day, what they really want is for you to use their point of sale.
Yeah.
They want you to use their software to build your business.
Yeah.
But they realize that if they say to you, hey, here's the software, you're going to go,
why are you guys giving it
why
to
are
me?
you just giving me? But if you start by saying, hey, I know you want to start a business. Here's the really great podcast.
Yeah.
Here's a teacher who's going to help you walk through this journey with you. And at the end of you learning, we give you all this value.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, by the way, we have software.
And you're like, of course I want to buy it from you.
Of course I want to buy it from you. I trust you. I believe in you. You understand what I need. If I trust you to educate me, I can definitely trust you to manage some part of my business. And I think like that thing of earning people's trust, that patient game of really educating people about the impact of the thing that they're buying can be, I think that becomes like the real magic, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about, what a cliche example. Think about Apple, right?
Yes.
They're, before the Vision Pro, a lot of their communications, a lot of their ads used to just show people living their lives with the product.
Yeah.
I was just living their, like they just living their life. And you see them with the headphones, you see them with the phone, you see them with the laptop. You're like, oh man, that's a creative guy. He's got a MacBook. I need a MacBook.
He's probably like a designer.
No, he's a designer.
Making money.
That time you buy a MacBook, you're there on the email. But you feel different because you're like, I'm
At
part of
Starbucks.
something here. You know what I mean? So I do think that a lot of small businesses, especially early, you don't think that you have the right to speak about your product in that way, but you should. Show me the difference that your product is going to make in my life, the value that it's going to bring to me, the problem that it's going to solve for me. Don't just say 10 rand, phone.
Just come by.
And then
I am of the sheer belief that free education from a business perspective is going to be the converter in the coming years.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way we build trust in any industry. And what I've come across is entrepreneurs saying, we actually spoke about this in a couple of episodes back, where I was saying you have to start giving free information around your niche and around your offering. Because a lot of people say, well, if I give free information, people won't buy because I've already given everything out. And what I've learned is that if you're of that belief, chances are your product isn't valuable enough if you can give everything away by just a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? It has to go more in depth than that. So I'm so glad you went that route, because that's such a powerful way to begin to increase your sales. Now let's talk about networking, because that's something that's so powerful for entrepreneurs. And in a space where, like we mentioned, when we talk about small businesses, we're starting businesses because we probably saw a demand, or we just really want to make a bit of extra money.
Yeah.
What are the ways we can start networking, and where do we go with the right people?
I'm a terrible person to talk about networking, because I talk about it from a different perspective, which is community. Right.
Okay.
So I think like every brand should be more invested in building a community than they should be like in most things. I think community means that I deeply care about what you're doing because I understand its impact in my life. I believe in what you believe in. Okay. And because of that, it is going to be very difficult for me to go to your competitor, because I'm not just signing up for a product. I'm signing up to be part of something, right? When it comes to community versus networking, I think networking very long, this is how long have people been talking about networking as part of your business, right? Like, it's a very important point.
Ever since, there was this networking thing a lot of entrepreneurs during our time used to go to.
Dinner.
The hookup dinner. Was it
the original
one was it the one in like Joburg, Newtown?
Yes, Mavaneng.
Yeah.
This is the blueprint. And I think like it moved, I think back before, networking is very transactional. What can you do for me? What can I do for you? I give you my business card, you take mine. I don't think in my years of collecting business cards, I've ever called any of those people.
Is that where the phrase "let's do coffee" comes from?
Let's do coffee. Let's have a chat.
Let's have a chat.
You want insights for coffee?
Yeah, let's do lunch. Let's do coffee. Where's
the business?
Zero.
I think where community is different is I believe in what you believe in, and we can serve each other in different ways. So I think and
it doesn't have to be simultaneous.
Exactly. I think you go out into the world and you find as many places as possible where you can interact with people who believe in what you believe in, but are also building in your space for that you guys can contribute to each other's growth. That's how I think about networking now, right? Okay. So if you are in a graphic designer or whatever else it is, your competition is not the other graphic designer who's also just with his laptop and his backpack. No. What does it look like for you guys to grow? Does it look like, you're actually better at illustrations, I'm better at making, really great stuff for brands or products and stuff like that? Can we come together and find a way where we become a mini agency? Can we chop up different jobs because we know that you're better at this and I'm better at that? So I think of networking as being like very transactional, whereas community and like collaboration become like, oh, I believe in what you believe in. I know I can contribute to your growth. Here's how that looks like. And what you really realize a lot of the time, especially this is true for creators and can be true for startups and small businesses, is like it's so important to have people in the room that are fighting for you when you're not there.
Very true.
In the boardroom or just in a conversation at lunch where someone says, hey, I don't know what to do with my branding.
Yeah.
My business really needs a good refresh. We need better, ways to communicate with our customers because what we have currently is not reaching them, right? It's not speaking to who they are. And the person across from them and go, oh man, I met this person, her name was Michelle, and she's got a really good take on how these things can be done, right? And whether you think about it from a Silicon Valley / startup perspective, the people that get funding are the people that have people in the room that say, hey, you guys are starting a fund in agriculture. I know a guy. Here's his name. You guys should definitely be funding him or at least looking at it. So having people in the room that fight for you is super critical. And that comes from like, if you are not sharing as much as you possibly can about what you believe in, what you care about, what you're trying to achieve, what your vision is, what the purpose of what you're doing is, all those things start to contribute to you building out a community of people that are just in the world fighting for you. There's opportunities I've gotten where I was just like, where did these guys even find out I exist?
Where did you guys hear about?
Yeah. How do you even know I'm a person, you know? And you find out, oh no, there's this guy who saw your reel who works at this company. He told this guy and that guy was like, and you're like, oh wait, there's a community being built around what you're doing.
True.
And the more you try and build that network of people that are just like advocates, because they believe in what you believe in, but they also trust in your skill, your ability to drive and deliver meaningful value, that they say, hey guys, there's only one guy for this. And it needs to be him. What does that look like?
Sure.
What would you say has been like a very powerful force for you in terms of networking and like community?
Serving. For me, that's been very big. Every network that I have or connect that I have, I've approached them and said, I want to serve you. How can I do that? And that has been so powerful for me because you automatically trigger the law of reciprocity. Because so that's every mentor. I'd be like, I see you're doing an event and how can I lend a hand? What can I do? And people are just like, you really want to help? I'm like, yeah, I admire what you do. I think there's so much value in what you do. I believe in what you're trying to do. How can I help?
And don't you think a lot of people miss that?
Yeah.
That, hey,
definitely.
If you give someone value up front,
yes,
they're going to help you.
Yeah.
Because they're going,
100%, because it's like, why would you want to? It's just, I value you. And to an extent, just say, I just also want to be exposed to how you do things, and I want to learn. But I want to do that by helping you. And 99% of the times I've done that, I've made so much money from those connections, because when they get a contract and they need somebody to hop on and assist, or they need another company to partner with, I'm the person that they'll trust, because now I already know their processes and I already know what they're trying to do, and I'm kind of already integrated into the way that they work.
It's such a powerful way to think. Why do you think most people don't think this way?
I think it's because we are you're interviewing me in my podcast.
I was hoping to get to question 3 before you realize that no, man.
It's like, no, man. What podcast is this? It's mine. Hey. No, but I'll probably answer question 3 if you have it as well. I think people miss it so much because, and maybe I'll justify it by saying we are in the politics of the stomach. We're constantly looking at how can I benefit. So I just saw Michelle and she's like this, or I just saw Tisha, she's so successful. What can I get from her? So when I approach her, it's like, hi Tisha, I have got this business and I'm struggling. I need you to help me. So off the bat. And we are under this illusion, which to some extent is true, that people want to help. And people do, but people are also so busy and they're occupied with other things. And I think that you have to be, and part of what selling truly is tapping into human psychology and saying, I want to drive value and I want help from this person, but how do I get it without upfront asking? So if I give the person enough value, and in a mid-conversation, they might be like, dude, you've helped me so much. How's your business going? And I'm like, shucks, I'm actually struggling. Like, I've tried to do 1, 2, 3 and but I'm learning from you. They can say, you know what? I've got somebody who's launching this and this and this. Why don't you hop on that? I'm going to call them now while you're here, and I'm going to put you guys in touch and you guys can connect. Yeah. So what's happened? I've made them a connect, and they've also now exposed me to their connection.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mindset thing.
I definitely think so. Yeah. No, I'm not going to ask question 3.
I was like,
now I'll be taking over.
Well, welcome back to the Resonate podcast. Masha just briefly borrowed my podcast there. It's like, welcome back. Yeah, it's such an interesting when we talk about connections and building networks with people, because I think it's very vital. It's so important. Like, I wouldn't have you. It would be harder to have you on this podcast.
It would be impossible. I won't lie. Like, I don't do these at all.
Exactly. If you and I didn't know each other. So it's like looking at things like that it becomes
But it's also not just knowing you, right? It's knowing that you said something to me last year that made me think differently. Yeah. I was like, I'm actually failing myself in some ways. And now I can be like, oh man. So I think about it almost every week now. Yeah. I'm like, damn.
I have
Michelle said that. Now I'm just like, damn. So I'm always like, if you affect people, if you give them something to think about, if you give them value, if they walk away and they say, I am not the same after this experience, they will find ways to help you win. And I think like what gets lost in the unfortunate reality of our country, which is like everyone's trying to make money so that they can survive, provide for their family, and afford a better life for themselves. And because of that, it becomes very difficult to be the sort of person that says, hey guys, you should actually maybe approach someone to work for free for a bit. I'll tell you a story about
that's a conversation. Everybody's like, don't you ever work for free?
I understand. I understand, and it's very new age, but like the way I met my mentor, right? Yeah. My mentor was actually the founder of the Hookup Dinner. Yeah. And I saw on Facebook. So I made a very conscious, this is how I started my entire online community. Yeah. I went on Facebook and I looked at all the people that I thought people admired because they were entrepreneurs. And I said, these are really amazing people. I want to be friends with all of them. And this is back then when friend request, accept. It's
immediately,
cool.
And you just be commenting.
No one really knows. No one really cared, right? So I got to like 5,000 people. Of those 5,000 people, it was mostly entrepreneurs, because I was looking at their network and this network and this network and accessing it. And then I saw, my mentor was one of the people I invited on there. And one day I saw it was his birthday. But on that morning, he was at a coffee shop in Brown. So I saw him post a picture. When back then, when people didn't care about internet,
it was real time.
It was real time. Like, he posted the picture. And I happened to be in Brown. So I walked to the coffee shop, go to the counter. I saw him sitting there. Went to the counter, got him a cake. And I just got there. I was like, happy birthday.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, Oh, man.
How did you know?
I didn't even... Whoa. Like, what's going on right now, right?
Powerful.
Next step. Hey, man, I know you're running the hookup dinner. Can I just like, whatever you need, I'll be around.
Yeah.
I'm around. I'm not busy with much. My startup has failed. I know I'm not... Things are tricky. Yeah, I just need a place to
do something.
To do something. I didn't need him to pay me or want him to pay me because I understood what was going to happen for me, right? The number one thing that happened for me immediately was having access to someone that had experience and expertise in building meaningful communities. I could learn what it meant to try and help bring people together around entrepreneurship, small business and startups. And the other part was like learning from someone that had helped a lot of people start, build and grow their business. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, hey Mash, actually you can just MC this event. I was like, okay. And I did that. Yeah. And then I learned about, making an event. I did that. Yeah. The way I found out about podcasts is because he didn't want to go to a event in Soweto that was being hosted by Facebook. It was like, hey man, just go to this thing because they need someone from our company there. I was like, I'll go because me, I'm just happy to be there.
Ready to roll.
I'll do whatever. And I happened to sit next to an exec from Facebook, and she was like, what do you guys do to tell the story of entrepreneurs in South Africa? I said, people go on radio, but it's mostly just like victory laps. Yeah. She's like, you should listen to podcasts. I was like, what is that? She's like, don't you have an iPhone? I was like, I do. She's like, yeah, the Purple app. I was like, no, I deleted that for space. She was like, no, there's a world of content that exists in this place. Yeah. I downloaded that app and my life changed. Wow. And you understand the sequence of events of things that happened there.
After that.
And it mainly came from that one thing to say to someone, hey, you are in a better position than me. You have a lot more experience. You have expertise. You've got contracts. You are generating revenue. Yeah. You've built a company around what I truly care about. Yeah. I just want to be in the room to learn.
That's it.
And when you think about all the different things that have happened because of that one meeting, and
remarkable.
5 years later, I find out he was the reason he was the reference for me to get my dream job.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So this idea of serving, this idea of creating meaningful value, the idea of you can just sometimes take yourself, humble yourself as much as possible, especially if you are in a desperate situation. Yeah. To say, if nothing's going to change because I am waiting for someone to pay me to do something, it is far worse for me to sit here. Don't idle.
Do nothing.
Don't idle. Never idle. I think that is death. Idling is death. Yeah. Like if you stagnate, if you stand where you are and you do nothing, that is way worse than death. Yeah. And you're going to slowly just like depression comes, anxiety comes.
Totally.
All these things that now you have to heal from just to be good enough to do the job that you could have done before. So I do think, I understand it's hard out there. It's a difficult time. You don't want to be exploited. Yeah. But I do think in certain situations, it is very, very smart to have that serving spirit to say, you know what, in this period of my life, I want to learn. In this period of my life, I want to be close to people that know things that I care about. Yeah. I want to be close to the people that know the information, that have all these, all these things. And I want to be in the room. Yeah. And once you do that and you start meeting more people and you build this network, you build this community, suddenly it becomes easier for people to make that decision. Oh man, we're looking for MC for an event. You know this guy, Mash. Yes. Man, let's talk to him. He's kind of nice. He's a cool guy. And he'll understand if we don't have too much money, but he can talk. Yeah. Obviously, the game's changed.
Of course.
Yesterday's price is not
today's.
Today's price. Today's price is not today's price. Yes, I think that's the same.
I love when you say that because I'm also just reflecting on my journey, and I realized that how I went sort of viral on Twitter is because I filmed a video at 9 p.m. It was after the budget speech, and they had just spoken about how how the unemployment rate in South Africa was like deteriorating. And I filmed a video, and in that video I was saying to people that if you're unemployed, the first thing you can do for yourself immediately is to go work for free.
Yeah.
Go find a place to
They
work.
probably ate you. They were killing
They
you.
had me for.
That's
why it went viral, because they were just like, suka wena, you know. And then I did a follow-up video, like trying to explain myself, like, guys, this is what I actually mean, because this is how it works. Because I could relate to having gone from a place of not being able to study further and not coming from a family that didn't have much, but having worked myself up by just willing to serve.
Yeah.
Like, I get a position, then like, we don't have anything. We've gotten, I tell the story very rarely, where I had gotten a job as a receptionist and to fill in for somebody. And when the person came back, I didn't have a job anymore. So I was like to the lady that owned the venue, I was like, just, what can I do? And she's like, we don't have anything. And I was like, just tell me, I will hostess for your restaurant. What do you need me to do? And she said, well, actually, I'm running an aquaponics farm and I need someone to sell spinach. And I said, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I said, I will sell spinach. I literally was walking around to like cyclists who love healthy living and selling organic spinach.
That's amazing.
Like, and for me, it was just like, I didn't know what would be my next, but I was just like, I can't sit at home. Like, I can't just not do anything. And from there, it was like, I served enough to be promoted, to getting bigger jobs, and now buying a car, and like literally leveraging from the life that I had.
Yeah, I think like that mentality is lost, and it's like it's a difficult thing to try and communicate to someone, especially when they're in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you are running out of options, you need, guys, I don't believe in standing still. If you're standing still, that is dangerous.
And also, I think what becomes so powerful is like seeing what at stake at that time.
Yeah.
You know, for me, my biggest driver was that I just lost my dad, who was the breadwinner at home, and all my friends were about to finish varsity. And I remember thinking to myself, they're going to finish varsity, they're going to get jobs, they're going to buy cars, and I'm going to be here. I can't. I have to be doing something. Like, I have to be busy trying to get around something. And I think just the thought of having my friends like be more successful and moving ahead in life while I'm not doing anything scared the living heck out of me.
Yeah.
And it got me up. And it actually serves to confirm that sometimes competition is good for you.
I think that like beyond competition though, is purpose.
Powerful.
So having something that motivates you outside of yourself, that is like deeply meaningful, right?
Yeah.
So I've always believed in a shining light, having a vision. Like there's something that you are chasing, that you understand, that is bigger than you. And because of that, it is very difficult for you to just give up on something.
Totally.
I think there's not enough people. And I think that the difficult thing with this is, you know, obviously it's existential. It's too big sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have a purpose for their life that they have, you know, signed up to and said, yes, I will dedicate myself to this thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, it becomes easier to sit and wait.
Let me say that I always say to my little sister, you need to have a fighting spirit regardless. Because I can guarantee you that at that time when I was selling spinach, there was no purpose for me. Like my thing was like, so my thing is I knew I wanted to be in business but I didn't know how. I didn't know how it was going. I just had this image in my head. But during that time, the thing was like, if this is what I foresee myself doing, it's clearly not going to happen while I sit at home. I have to just get up and do something. So for me, I think in as much as the purpose conversation is important, because I think the more that we are speaking around find your purpose, the more people are feeling more crippled. Because it's like, I don't have it. I don't know what to do. But it's like...
if you don't have it, you create it. You invent it.
Exactly. So
you workshop. Right? You say, okay, what do I care about?
Yes, what do I do? But also, you can only find what you care about when you're on the ground doing the work, right? Yes. So I had to sell spinach and realize I don't like selling spinach.
Vision unfolds over time.
Yes, but it unfolds with you taking action. Yes. So I'll give you like a practical example with my stories that I sell the spinach, and then after I'm promoted to become like a wedding coordinator, and I fall in love with doing events, and then I start an events company, right? That's my start of entrepreneurship. And I think even when I was on Twitter at that time, I was in events, and I started planning events and and that went viral. And over time I was like, I actually don't enjoy doing this thing. What do I want to get into? Let me get into consulting. And to the point where I am right now, where I feel like, I think now, after like the past 3 to 4 years, now I'm in my purpose. Now I'm sitting in it. But it had to take that action.
Vision unfolds over time.
Moving
and
forward.
Like, there's this I forgot who told me this example. Like, you know, if you're driving on the freeway, right?
Yeah.
Late at night, it's raining, like storms.
Yeah.
and you're driving, right? And something happens to your car and you're on the side. If you're sitting in your car and all the cars are passing, we don't know something's wrong.
Of course. And we're not trying to approach you.
We're not going to approach you because it just looks like you stopped on the side of the road.
100%.
If you are outside and you're drenched and you've done something, there's
like
a tool
waving.
on the floor, there's something. You are showing people that, hey, I'm in a place of distress. I'm in a difficult place. I am trying.
Yeah.
It is easier to try and help someone when you see them saying, oh, wow. You know, so my mentor, he didn't have a budget for me, right? But the more work I did, he was just like, hey, Mona, I see you are moving.
Yeah.
And you are doing things. We've got a stipend. It's not a lot, but here's something. Yeah. Because he realized, oh, wait, this person is creating very serious value.
Yeah.
We need to keep this person. It becomes easier and easier and easier for people to step in, to step up and find a way to help you because you're offering them value and they can see that, no, man, there's something going on here. And it relates to sales. It relates to your entrepreneurship journey where it's like the more momentum you have, the more movement you have, the more motion there is, the more people start to go, hey, man, we should see what this person's doing.
Yeah.
We should actually try and learn about what they're trying to build.
Yeah.
Hey, man, what services are they trying to create? All these different things.
Yeah.
It becomes easier for people to be part of your journey and investing it in some way when they can actually see the work happening.
100%.
Whether that's for free or not. Right?
Yeah.
And I also think, like, back to the sales conversation, the more tools in your arsenal that you have to communicate about what you're doing, the better things be, right? So I think, like, one of the weirdest things that I know how to do that I learned on a YouTube video and has been the most important thing I ever learned was how to build a website. By the way, that's maybe like 3 days worth of a workshop, right?
Yeah.
Just on YouTube, learned how to do that. I use that to build a website, a website for entrepreneurs to find the best resources and all of that. After that, I've been sort of building different things.
Yeah.
Having that front page that just says, oh, this person's built something and you can go and access it somewhere. When you say you have a great product, but there's no pictures, there's no video, there's no storytelling, there's no testimonials, there's nothing. It's like, no.
Yeah.
So I learned how to build websites. I'm learning how to take very professional pictures now. I learned how to take really good videos with my phone. I learned how to, try and communicate about things, tell much better stories. All these things become part of that arsenal of tools that you can draw on.
That's true.
As soon as you need to make that push to tell people about the thing that you're trying to do. I think, like, if you can't necessarily go out there and do work, then you need to be capacitating yourself as much as possible.
That's very true.
Because you need to be armed, and I mean armed, with as many resources, as many insights, as many information, education, that when the time comes and the opportunity is there, you need to be able to act on it.
Yeah. Shucks. Sure.
What is the most important thing you've learned about yourself through this journey?
Ooh.
Back to my podcast.
Yay! Resilience. I've learned that there's nothing I cannot do.
Yeah.
There's nothing I cannot do.
And you have to fight.
And you?
I think resilience is a big one.
Yeah.
Because you realize that a lot of businesses that seem successful, the one thing that made them successful was actually being able to survive the other guy.
Yeah.
The other guy's going to get tired.
Extremely.
The other guy's going to get disappointed.
Yeah, he's going to quit.
Yeah. And this happens a lot. And when that happens, you need to still be there to say, hey, man, we are still here.
Still standing.
So I think resilience is an important one. But again, unfortunately for me, it's like that purpose thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you have a shining light that is clear for you and you only, and you can start to synthesize that purpose into meaningful products, communities, experiences, and insights for people that can actually provide meaningful value, disproportionate value, and solve meaningful problems, the better you will be. Because this business might not work.
Yeah.
And you know me, I don't mind closing a business tomorrow.
Quickly.
Next week, I'm back. Let's launch. Let's go. I'm not doing it so much in my 30s because
Praise
it's a bit
Jesus.
tiring.
Now you have to just stick it through.
I think that as long as you're armed as much as possible with all these tools, resources, insights, education, empowerment,
Yeah.
and then you link that with the purpose that you have, that is a shining light, you'll always find a way to win. Whether that's with a job, with a contract, a consulting, with a business, with a product, because you're just using all these tools that you have. Personal development, I think, is the most underrated thing
100%.
for entrepreneurs everywhere.
Sure. Mashudu Mudau, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for
I
having
really
me.
want to continue this conversation, but we all have to go. Thank you so much for joining me. RisNet community, thank you so much for listening in. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening while you're driving on the road, we really hope that we've kept you amazing company. This conversation has been absolutely amazing and such a light bulb a moment for me, and I hope it's been the same for you. We'll see you guys in our next episode.